How's the royal family? I pray that everyone is doing well. Well, my royal family, today, our royal son, his family had his home going. And so how I want to start this out first, my royal family, to show respect. I have about a 3-minute video where they're going to, it's an interview of his parents, because I've been wondering, and I know like many have been wondering, where is his father? Because I had only heard them mention his father once. The mother said that he was still coming, and because I was getting concerned, I said I want to see the whole complete family, even if they were broke up, to show unity. So we're gonna listen to this video, and then I have 2 more videos that I want the royal family to see. So the last video I'm going to show y'all is going to be the bonus, and it'll speak for itself. So let's hear what our royal son's parents have to say.
He spoke with John's family in their first sit-down interview together. Omar, good morning.
Gail, good morning. John's family says they don't think Dallas police officer Amber Geiger is telling the whole story about what happened at this apartment complex. And a week after he was killed, they still don't know why.
We're still lost as to what happened.
1 week after losing their son Botham, Allison and Bertram Jean still aren't satisfied with the details surrounding his death.
I still don't have a conclusive what happened.
Is that just keeping you up at night?
That's the pain. That's what causes the pain.
Off-duty police officer Amber Geiger is accused of killing the 26-year-old last Thursday. The family says they don't believe the officer's version of events.
One of the things I would like is for Amber to just come clean.
Geiger told investigators that she went to what she thought was her 3rd-floor apartment. Instead, the 30-year-old went to Jean's 4th-floor apartment directly above hers. Geiger says the door was ajar, and inside noticed the apartment interior was nearly completely dark. Elisa is Botham's sister.
To hear that, his door was open, he would never, and have the lights off, he would never do that. He was like me, I don't like the dark.
Believing Jean to be a burglar, Geiger says after she gave verbal commands that were ignored, she fired her handgun twice, hitting him once in the torso. It wasn't until Geiger turned on the lights and called 911 that she realized she was at the wrong apartment. The family says Jean placed a red carpet in front of his door to distinguish his apartment from others.
He made sure to let everyone know, this is mine, it's my red carpet.
Jean grew up in St. Lucia, but his brother Brant says that he was well aware of racial tensions in America.
He said to me, as a black man in Dallas, you don't walk with your hands in your pockets, just so you don't get any profiling.
Geiger has been charged with manslaughter, but some demonstrators want her charged with murder.
Do you think she will get justice? Are you worried that she won't?
That's my worry.
Geiger's attorney declined our request for comment, but ultimately it'll be up to a grand jury to decide if they'll bump those charges up to murder. There is a rumor that the Jean family wants to squash right now. They say Botham did not know and did not have a relationship with Geiger. John?
Omar, thank you, and thanks for helping quash that rumor. But there's just something that doesn't add up here.
And that's why it's so confusing. I think it's good that Omar's saying the family didn't know, because you think they had to have known. They had to have had something between the 2 of them. But to hear them say that, it's very mysterious, because neighbors heard her say, allegedly, open the door, open the door. She says the door was open. Neighbors say the door can't stay open because it automatically closes.
All right, my royal family. So this next video I'm going to play, I had put this entire video on my Black Junction, but I wanted to play snippets of this video, and this is retired Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey, and she has a YouTube channel that she's building up. So what I like about this sister, she's speaking through a lens of a police officer, and she's willing to, say the stuff that most won't say. That does not mean I trust her, because when you work in that type of field, you have to be willing to uphold white supremacy, and you have to be willing to arrest your own and inflict bodily harm and even death. So that has to be already ingrained in you, that you are willing to do that. So don't ever worry about, like, when I present someone like her, then I'm getting all gullible and like, oh, okay, she spoke the truth and all of that. No. You got to watch them. Always watch these people. So anyway, I'm not going to play the whole video, but she says some key things that we really need to listen to. All right, my royal family, let's get this volume right, and let's hear what she has to say.
About this police shooting in Dallas, Texas with Amber Geiger. I read an article in the newspaper, online newspaper, if you will, that there were some criminal defense attorneys who find fault, or well, they don't call it fault, they just say they see things in this warrant for her arrest, this affidavit, that lets them know that this is a case, if they were defending her, that they would be able to get her to walk away on. And understand, a defense attorney, that's his job, is to get you off, right? So these defense attorneys, and I'm in agreement with them, I think if you understand that prosecutors have a symbiotic relationship with police departments, police chiefs, and that's Texas Rangers as well, you understand then why it's not surprising to me that the wording in the affidavit is missing some things that criminal defense attorneys believe would be easy to overcome if this thing were to go to trial. Hey, Mama Lindy, I see you. One of the things that they talked about, these criminal defense attorneys talked about, was the fact that not so much what the affidavit says for her arrest, but actually what it didn't say. And what it didn't say it didn't have anything to do with recklessness, or it didn't have anything to do with, Terrence, I see you calling me, dude. I'm on Facebook Live. If you're here, come on over. They didn't mention anything about recklessness or intention. And when you listen to some of the verbiage that they're using, I mean, remember, great deference is given to a police officer in what we say. And so they're telling us that, she's coming home to her apartment, which doesn't make sense, but she's coming home to her apartment. And as she enters her apartment, she sees a silhouette and she starts giving commands. Who does that? That makes no sense to me. If I come home as a police officer and I see someone in my home, I'm not going to enter it. I'm not going to start taking police action. I don't have the benefit of backup. I don't have the benefit of a police radio so I can call for assistance. There's so many reasons why it makes no sense that she would proceed and enter her apartment. But nonetheless, there's been reports that she had a dog. I've read reports that there was a red mat on the floor where Mr. John lived. So if you don't see your dog, but you do see a red mat, you go in anyway. So she enters into her apartment and she's giving commands. So it sounds to me like they're talking to a potential juror or a potential grand jury, because they're going to present this, I'm reading, to a grand jury. And if the grand jury hears, it sounds reasonable to a civilian, because ultimately, if this thing goes to court, if there's an indictment, she has to be found guilty beyond a reasonable doubt. And so it sounds reasonable as a defense if, as a police officer, I'm giving commands to a alleged suspect, if you will, to stop doing a thing, and they don't stop doing it, then I take the next step. I do whatever it is that I need to do to make myself safe, So she's giving the commands, the silhouette doesn't respond, and why would he? Because he's in his own house, if it happened that way, and I don't think it happened that way, but let's just go along with their version. She's giving commands, he doesn't respond, and so then she fires her gun. I think it would be very hard to convince a jury of her peers that that was not reasonable, that she didn't have sufficient cause to be concerned coming home and finding someone in her house. So I think they're paving the way for us, and I think it would make good sense to be prepared and be thinking like that, and then be thinking about what you want to do down the road. Now, how did we get there? How did we get to this symbiotic relationship where the Texas State Rangers creates an affidavit to a prosecutor that is kind of weak to begin with? Well, we got there because Chief Renee Hall relinquished control of the investigation. If I'm a police chief, I'm a black woman, and this is a big deal, I'm brand new to the state, I'm not going to relinquish my investigation, because who better than me to make sure it gets handled the right way? I've got questions. Personally, I have questions. And so if I have questions as a civilian, when I put on my sergeant hat or my chief of police hat, if that's who I am, I want to make sure that those questions are asked and answered. And I can't trust and depend on the Texas State Rangers to ask the questions that are important to me. And when those questions are asked and answered, I may have follow-up questions. And so I can't trust that they're going to cover this thing the way that I want it to be covered. And so I would have never relinquished my investigation over to an outside agency. Now, I've talked to some people that are there on the ground in Texas, and they're saying that Chief Hall was under some pressure from the city manager. And as I talk about these various people, understand that some of these are appointed positions and some of these are elected officials. And so you need to make your vote, your protest. This is a midterm election. And if these people that are making these decisions and allowing these things to happen are elected officials, then you need to be making sure that they get on to another position and you put somebody in that place who values your life and has a similar interest to the things that are of concern to you. But anyway, so back to the city manager who may have given Chief Hall some grief and pressured her into turning this investigation over to the Texas State Rangers. I mean, I get it. Listen, she's an outsider, and that's the problem when you come into an agency and you didn't grow up on it, and you don't know the little nuances and the ins and outs, and more importantly, you don't have a support team. You don't have somebody who can tell you what you need to know. You don't have somebody when you're from Detroit who can tell you historically who the Texas State Rangers are, and if you have an option, maybe that's not the group you want to relinquish control of your investigation to. But she didn't have that. And knowing that, or believing the information that I'm getting, that she was pressured by the city manager, I wouldn't have relinquished it. He would have had to fire me. I would have held a press conference regarding that. And he would have had to fire me on TV in front of everybody, because I'd be yelling to the rafters, and I'm not going to relinquish this investigation. I'm going to handle it, and here's why. And I would have stuck to that. So there's just so many things that are problematic with regards to Chief Hall. And one of the other things that she said, and I hate to do sister girl to sister girl, I really don't want to pile up on her, but you know, the other thing for me is that sometimes, and I'm not saying that's the case in this instance, but sometimes because you see somebody who looks like you, who's black, and as a police chief, you think that they're going to do the right thing. But it's been my experience that black folks who speak the way that I do don't get to breathe that special air up there in Chief of Policeville. They just don't promote you. They make sure that they keep you relegated to a position where you could cause a little trouble, but you're not going to be making no real decisions that are contrary to their mandate. And so I don't know her history. I don't know her background. I was having a conversation with a young man there in Dallas who was part of the civilian review board that hired her, and he was excited that there were going to be someone that looked like him representing that agency and doing the right thing. I'm hopeful that she will down the road, but this thing is so huge. I'm not convinced. I don't know whose side she's on. I don't know whose team she's on right now, and I guess we'll have to wait and see. She says don't judge her. She says, let her record, if this is part of the record, let her record speak for her. I have a problem. She says she relinquished it because of transparency. My definition of transparency is I'm going to investigate it and I'm going to tell you what I find out. That's transparency to me. When you give control over to the Texas State Ranger, now you've got to rely on them to give you information. Mm-hmm. And so you're not being transparent. You're just in a position where you have to wait for them to give you information, and then you relate that to the people that have a concern to the community. So Turning it over for transparency? No. Turning it over to the Texas State Rangers so that you couldn't be accused of not being able to police your own? I get that it's kind of a double-edged sword. That might be a reason you might want to turn it over to the Texas Ranger. But why them? Did she have a choice? And I don't know, because I'm not there, I don't live there, and I don't know the politics of the Dallas Police Department. I don't know why she turned it over to them. And then there's that whole situation of the female officer, Amber, not being taken into custody right away. I talked about this on my podcast, which I'll be updating and doing special reports regularly as things come up that I just want to share with you real quickly. But the fact that she wasn't taken into custody right away was problematic for me. I talked about, you watch 48 hours. I do marathons on the weekends sometime, and police have no problem taking you to the police station and hanging on to you for hours when they want to interrogate or interview you regarding a homicide. So how was this young lady able to go in, give a vial of blood, and then go home? She was able to do that because the Texas State Rangers are friendly. She went home, and they told us, and if you listen to what's being said and you listen carefully, they'll kind of project to you what's going to happen. What they said was that they were interviewing her and getting more information. To a regular person, it sounds like they were getting more information relative to the shooting, relative to how it happened, why it happened, but they didn't say what information they were waiting to get. We now know the information that they were waiting to get was, you got your bail money yet? Are you good? Because I want you to get all your ducks in a row before I allow you to walk into the police station of your choosing. And she went into Kaufman County Police Station or Sheriff's Department, whichever it is, but I'm told it's in Kaufman County, which is supposed to have some significance. And so for you people who live in Dallas, you understand why she turned herself in Kaufman County and not Dallas, right? So they allow her this time that she needs to get her money together so that she can bail out. And I saw, but I can't authenticate if this is true, but she was in there for 19 minutes or maybe an hour, walked in the front door. They put her through the process, which is nothing like the process you would go through. And I'm not going to be real graphic here, but if you know anybody who's ever been to jail, yeah, that's a situation that no one wants to be in. And so I understand from a police officer perspective why she got the homie hookup, why the police department would want to not put another police officer through that. But as a black woman, as a mother, I find it offensive. Because if one of my black sons did that, they wouldn't get the homie hookup. They wouldn't get to wait 2 or 3 hours until I came up with money. They would go through the system the way she should have gone through the system. And so again, when you relinquish control, you relinquish control. There's something else that went on in Dallas that was problematic for me, and that was last weekend involving a young man by the name of O'Shea Terry, who was stopped in a car with his friends sitting on the side of the road. They were smoking a joint. I guess a police officer happened upon them for some reason, had a conversation with Mr. Terry through the passenger side window. Okay. And there was a passenger in the vehicle, and Mr. Terry, understanding that, he should have been.
All right, my royal family, I'm going to just stop it there. I will put the link on my channel if y'all want to listen to the rest of that, because it is on Black Junction. But I pretty much played the bulk of what we needed to hear, and her insight and how they are grooming America. They want us to feel sorry for her. I even heard in passing today that the white supremacists want to say, well, it was just a simple accident. So it's like, let's just chalk it up for a mistake. He's dead, motherfucker. He's dead. He's dead. And today they had to put him in a pine box and have a funeral for him. And you want to chuck it up for, oh, my bad. It's like dropping a bottle and you break it. Okay, no big deal. Well, let's imagine our royal son being that bottle and we drop it. You can't put the glass back together. His flesh is dead. His soul will continue to live on, but his family is grieving. And the other thing that I was thinking about is the insult to our intelligence, that they don't even care how the shit look on a grand scale. They will live a lie, and that is something I never understood about the enemy, is they can all be in a room together and every single one of them are engaging in conversation, and they're all lying, and they know that they're lying to each other. That never computed in my psyche, because we don't play like that. We look each other in the eye, we pick up on energy, and we real quick to expose each other about our fuckery. Just think about our own individual family and close friends. That's how they get down. They don't think like us. They are not us. Let's always keep that on our frontal lobe. So the bonus video I want to play here, my royal family, will speak for itself. All right, my royal family. Well, let me shut that down. I don't want that to pop up on us. So, bear with me. Let me pull this back up. I had lost sight of his image, our royal son's image. So, anyway, my royal family, I'm showing the bonus, and I look at it two different ways. To basically throw the middle finger up at us and say, are you satisfied? Y'all got what y'all want. This is nothing more than a dog and pony show, and again and again and again, an insult to our intelligence. See, I was thinking about the art of war, and I was explaining to my husband, in the art of war, you are the general and you are leading your army. And another crack that I see in white supremacy, they are not willing to sacrifice even one of theirs to give the illusion in this war that we are in that they are willing to do that. So when you see that type of behavior, what they have just exposed is a weakness. Because the art of war is all about, it's all psychological. And you have, when you are engaging in war, you have to keep in the enemy's psyche. You don't even flinch if they torture or kill one of our own. You don't even care. You don't give them anything. It's like, oh well, but behind the scenes, you're showing your emotions. That's how you play the art of war. But I always call that butt factor. And we can learn from this. That's like I was saying, even these phone calls all this summer. I said the enemy been pretty damn good in staying on code. But there are certain things that I see that they can't get off that code of calling. Because they have, in their psyche, made us like the biggest giant on the earth, and all we doing is slaying and killing them every day, and they feeling subjugated towards us. We are still in captivity. So what the fuck they talking about? And then you see her ass sitting up in there putting on the waterworks. All they did was process you in and out. And isn't it ironic, my royal family, that camera was right there so we could see it? And if it wasn't for his queen mother begging to the point of tears to arrest this bitch, they wouldn't have did anything. So it goes back to this. So they are already showing what they are willing not to do. It still goes back to the business decision, because this is how they making these moves. That's why we're seeing more cops getting arrested, and they have to look at it on a monetary level and say, is it cost effective to invest in her and work towards getting her off, or is it more cost effective to just sacrifice the lamb? So they got some different ways that they have to weigh in on this too as well. So let's never lose sight of the business decision. And we might even see a few cases down the road where we're like, oh, they're being fair and all that. I'm going to be the one to keep telling y'all, the only reason why they doing it is a business decision. And some of these towns, because they in a big city, but some of them, they budget is so tight, they have to do what they have to do. But they're not ever doing anything in our favor. Always keep this in mind. Any establishments that they put together in this system, they don't have us in mind. They always have the enemy in mind to keep them satisfied and to appease them and to pander to them. We're an irritant to them. And again, because I know there are people that are new to the true royal family. I say this often. Everything that the enemy is doing is exactly what the enemy is supposed to do. And the divine hand is doing what the divine hand need to do. So the question that I ask is, what is the royal family doing in this war? We are in captivity again and again. Can you feel that you're in captivity? So then the other thing that I look at is the law of nature. What is naturally going to happen? Naturally. Well, nothing is forever. And many of us are systematically exposing the inner workings and the core of white supremacy in this unquote shithole. And what I have observed in many is they are held up by props. It's like going to a movie prop and you look behind and it looks aesthetically pleasing on one side, but when you look on the back, you be like, damn, that's what a movie set look like? Yeah, so that's what white supremacy look like. This is what Babylon look like as it's falling. It's propped up, It's just all propped up. We got a retarded president that will say anything. And the people that voted for him, they fool on his shenanigans and his ignorance and him propping up America. So the problem that America is going to have, and they're having it right now actually, is their own are also going to go to war with them, because they don't have the patience that we have. They're not going to sit there and wait. I said many years ago, I said this in the early 90s, the biggest problem that America eventually going to have, one of the biggest problems, is white malicious groups, radical, religious fundamentalists, those type. They're paranoid. They off in the boonies. They got arsenal. So there's so many ways that we can look at this, my royal family. So, like I said, this particular drama and events is sticking to me like glue. So I'm going to continue to keep reporting it, my royal family. So anyway, my royal family, render your voice with your beautiful divine words. And as always, my royal family, I thank you for your love. I thank you for your support. And with that said, Ashe.